What's up guys, in the previous video we talked about how to align children inside rows and columns in Jetpack Compose. So in this video we are going to create an example layout. Let's quickly try to convert this design into a layout, and you can see this image clearly explains why I failed to land a job as a graphic designer. As you can see, everything is vertically aligned, so we are going to define an enclosing column. Now let's define this image at the top. I have already placed the image in the draw label here. Now let's see what does this look like. Now we have an image at the top filling the maximum width. Now next let's try to define this text view, but before that we need to add some margin. For that there is a property called spacer. Let's try to add that. Now we need to define this text. Since we are already in the column, everything will be vertically placed, so we can drop our text right here. Now we need to do some styling so we can match the font and the color. So in this case, let's go with a font size 20. I already have the color code. Let's try to define the second text. Before that, we need to add some space. So let's copy this spacer and put it right here. Okay, now we have text view. As we discussed this before, if this is a column, the children can align themselves center vertically by adding alignment property. So let's add the alignment property in the child. So this is our first text view. Let's add the alignment. And just to refresh the concept, just remember, in a column the child can only align themselves horizontally. If we try to make it center vertically, we will have an error. So let's put it back to center horizontally. Let's add the same property in the second text. As you can see, the text is nicely aligned in the center. Let's proceed with the design. Okay, next we have some space, so we will add another spacer. If you notice, the price label and size label, they both have same kind of pattern. So maybe we can define a composable function for both of them and pass them the value of the label and the value. So let's define a function with the row inside. Let's have the parameter for the both text. Now that we have a row, let's define a text inside. We have defined our first text and we need to define the label value. Now let's take another text for that. I'm gonna copy this and we change its color and the font size if required. Now here, after the space, we can call this function to load our first row for the price and its value. Let's pass the arguments. Now let's try to run this. So you can see, as we discussed, both the elements are pushed to the left side by default. So we need to give them some alignment. First of all, we need to align them vertically in the row. In order to understand that, let's try to add some background color to this row. As you can see, this is our row, and by default the elements are pushed to the top left corner of the row. First we need to align them in the center, and just like we discussed, for aligning them in the center vertically, we need to add the property in the child. Let's add alignment for that purpose. Let's copy this in the second text as well. Now let's try to run this. Now we can see both the labels are vertically aligned. Now according to our design, we need to move them in the center such that the space is equally distributed between them. So remember when we discussed that in order to align the elements in the center in a row, we need to use a parent property called arrangement. So let's try to use arrangement here. So that's a parent property, so it will go in the row. Let's see how does this look like. Now it's in the center, but we need to distribute the space equally between both these texts. So let's try to change the property and see what we have in here. As you can see, there are a number of properties available. So in order to space to be divided equally between two elements, let's try to use space around. Perfect, now we have our desired result. Let's just remove the background color from this row. Now let's get back to our design. Now we need to call this size row. Let's add some spacing and then call the function again. Now we have the size row as well. We just need to reduce this spacer a little bit. So let's make it 3. Moving forward, we just need to add some more spacer and then we need to define this text. Now let's try to run one more time. It doesn't look so similar, but it will do after we apply some fonts on it. I hope by now you have an idea how to align children inside your column and rows. I will upload the code for this on a GitHub repository and give a link down below in the description. That's it for this video. I'm gonna be making next video on interoperability in Jetpack Compose. Till then, goodbye.